I will be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference.
Hello out there in podcast land, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of The Road Less Traveled. We have a very interesting journey ahead of us tonight. We're going to be teaching a little bit of a survival class tonight. So you might want to get your thinking caps on and your notepad and pen ready to jot down some things we're going to talk about. Survival, you know, that is a God-given right, my friends. That is one of the rights that your Creator has given you, and that is the right to survive. You know, the ability to live your life without fear. You know, and but we have we've looked at looking at how things are going today. Everyone you talk to, I don't care what, across a broad spectrum, almost everyone says there's something coming. There is something about to happen, and it's getting closer and closer day by day, hour by hour. And we all know that, especially people who are up on biblical prophecy and know about these things and all that, that these things are happening more and more every day. Absolutely. But, oh yeah, by the way, I want to thank Danette. Thank you, dear, for that $9.99 sticker. Appreciate that so very much. Thank you so kindly. You have a great heart of support. Thank you so much, dear. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, everybody knows something's coming. We just, we don't know when, we don't know where. That's not our business probably to know that. But we do know that we can be prepared. We can be ready for whatever's coming down the line. Even so, it says so in the Bible, watch so that you won't be caught unawares. And that is so very true. And now to begin the show tonight, I'm going to say what they used to say back in Rome: give them bread and circuses, let the games begin. And absolutely, we're going to get deep into it tonight. And in order to do that, my fellow host is here, Mr. David Roach, also known as the Red Pill Preacher. Hello, sir.
How we doing, everybody?
All right. Good evening. Absolutely. Like I was talking about just now, everybody knows something's going to happen. We all feel this. I mean, this is something everybody is getting. I'm going to say at least 90% of people will admit to this, that there is definitely something coming down the line. We all know that. And there's not a whole lot we're going to be able to do to stop it. But the only thing that we can actually do is what our reaction is to it. That's what we can control. That's what we can do something about. Our reaction to whatever may come down the line. And we're going to take this tonight, folks, as if we're talking about a zombie apocalypse, okay? Whether that ever really happens or not, it wouldn't surprise me if it did. But whether or not that really happens, and by the way, I've done shows in that on the past, David, talking about some of these rogue scientists that are out there and those in their secret labs actually are working on a Z virus. They actually want to bring that about. It will not be the dead coming back. It will be people, living people turned into zombie-type creatures. And it will be more like along the lines, I don't know if you're very familiar with the movie Z. It'll be more along those lines or something like that. So what we're looking at would not be a supernatural event. This could be brought about by science, folks. I mean, it's something that could definitely happen. But tonight we're going to take that approach. Even the government has taken that approach in some of their survival manuals, talking about a zombie apocalypse. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But we've got some things we want to show you, things to share with you. We'll probably have to do more shows on this, definitely. Because, you're just going to scratch the surface tonight. But it is, I feel, and David feels, that's why we're both here tonight. This is a very, very, very important topic that we need to address. Not just, me and him, but for everybody involved, everybody that's listening. So that's why I say put on your thinking caps. Get ready to take notes, record this if you need to on your phone, whatever you need to do. You do want to remember some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. And I want to start out with one tip, David, before I turn it over to you. And I want everybody to think about this. Bad things, you're going to see the true face of humanity when the power goes off and does not come back on. And when the water stops flowing out of your tap, you're going to see the real face of humanity out there, my dear friends. And it ain't going to be good. It's going to be an ugly, terrible face. Because David and I, being former law enforcement, we've seen the dark side of humanity. We know exactly what humanity is capable of. Okay? And when civilization breaks down, it's going to be far worse than anything. And we got to keep that in mind. But just for instance, I want to say when you go to the tap and you don't have water, you know what, you're gonna die. That's it. You can't live without water. You might go 2 or 3 weeks without food, but you ain't gonna make it without water. But let me tell you something a lot of people never think about, okay? You can't actually drink the water. You got about 30 to 40 gallons of drinkable water in your hot water heater. You can drain that out and use it if you need to, okay? And also you can drink the water in your bathroom tank, not the commode, of course, not the bowl, but the tank. It is drinkable. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody here at the beginning. That's something you need to keep in mind. You need to keep all these tips and observations in mind because this is what it takes to help you survive. Is that right, brother?
You're 100% right, Dennis. And I have had a career of keeping people alive. That's what I've done my entire career since I've been in uniform since I was 17 years old in the United States Marine Corps and then onward. And one of my duties in the Marine Corps was wilderness survival instructor. I taught both desert survival and mountain warfare survival to the United States Marines. That was part of my subsidiary duties. And I ran a wilderness survival business when I got out of law enforcement for a while. And I taught people how to do exactly this. We had a saying in the Marine Corps that piss poor planning promotes poor performance. These acronyms, people, if you might want to write them down and you might want to take it to heart because Dennis is absolutely right. We are about a 72-hour window of no power, no water, no EBT cards, no TANF, no banks. You let that happen, and in about a 72-hour window, what we call civilized people will eat each other. And I mean that metaphorically, of course. But they'll tear this place apart. Now, you got to remember that a large group of society has never grown up without the internet, without a smartphone, without all these what we call modern convenience, first world conveniences. But on a grid down scenario where the power goes out, where you can't just draw water from the tap, as Dennis was saying, and we were reverting back to basically survival modes from pre-1900s, where there was no running water, no electric lights, and things of that nature, no way to refrigerate things, no sanitation. All these things come into play. You are going to see a generation, multiple generations of people from I would say after Gen X, our generation, probably the last generation that is familiar with that style of living. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, all these people, they'll jump from the top of buildings because they won't be able to handle it. You're going to have to know how to keep yourself alive. And water is just one part of it. Of course, we'll get into it a little bit tonight, but we're going to cover 2 different scenarios of survival. We're going to talk about,
brother, when you get in that situation, and people out there need to realize this, who you're dealing with may not be mentally fit. You can't take it for granted that they're really in their right minds anymore, because this will do things to people that you will not believe, that your imagination cannot conceive of. You will not be dealing with sane people most of the time, and that's the bad part about this. Isn't that right, brother?
That's right. I mean, people's psyche, people's mental prowess, mental state is fragile anyway. When you have 82% of the population on some kind or some form of antidepressant or psychiatric drug, some kind of pharmaceutical, and that's one of the services that will go away. What do you do when you take that mental safety net away from a group of people and there's no way to get it? You see, eventually people are going to come get what you have, and you're going to have to be willing to do what's necessary to protect those resources. And what we're going to talk about tonight is two methods, and there's only two. When you have a SHTF moment, so to speak, a grid, let's call it a grid down scenario, a cataclysmic event, you're either going to bug out or bug in. So you're going to shelter in place, or you're going to have the ability to be mobile, to keep moving, and to get to some form of a secure location. Now, I encourage everybody listening to the sound of our voice tonight to start putting protocols in place for both of those scenarios. Now, we're going to give you some ground level stuff here tonight to help start you on your way, but I would assume, just by the nature of knowing our viewing audience at Supernatural Truth and Hunting the Shadows audience, everybody that probably watches us, since we have such a shared audience, is probably hip to the game on the possibility and the very real possibility. And I'll go farther than that, Dennis. I'm not just going to say possibility. There is a probability that something along these lines, I don't know which way it will come, but knowing biblical prophecy and watching the world stage as we see, we are just a hair's breadth, as King David said, from death. We are a hair's breadth, a hair's trigger from a very real probability that an event such as we are speaking of takes place. I'm shocked it hasn't happened already.
Well, that's what I told everybody the other night, David. We standing right now in this country alone on the brink of civil war, closer than we have been in hundreds of years, folks, because all it's got to take is somebody like the governor of California to turn his National Guard against the National Guard of another place, or whatever the situation. He says, take orders only from me, and turns them around against the federal government. You've got civil war. That's what you've got. And you've got right now 23 sanctuary states that do not want to go by the laws of this country. Yep. So you got the political scene shaping up for some and this is not just happening in this country, friends. It's happening all over the world, because you've got two factions here that are definitely going to usher in the age of the Antichrist. You've got the globalists and you've got the nationalists. The globalists want a one world government, one world religion, one world people. The nationalists, they want the countries to be the way they are now, with borders and everything else. You've got these two dynamics pushing against each other, and you got to expect, it's like rubbing two matches together. Sooner or later, you're going to get something from it.
Yeah, that's why the Bible says when those time things happen, flee unto the mountains, it says. In other words, and that could be very literal, but I take it as start getting yourself together and plans together for long-term survival. And that's kind of where I wanted to start with, is the bugging out or bugging in scenario. The principles are the same whether you are mobile or stationary. There's certain items that you're going to need, and Dennis and I both have assembled some of these things that are must-haves, are must-have in any survival scenario. And if Dennis doesn't mind, I'll start with what I call the C's. If you have an ink pen, I'll say the first thing you need is the first C is cutting device. Okay? Now, everything is different, but this is my bushcraft knife, okay? This is a Tom Brown tracker. It has the saw teeth on the back for making traps. It is full tang, as I've heard Dennis mention before. That means it's one solid piece of steel all the way through. That way it doesn't break on you when you go to use it. Okay, so you want a good cutting device. That's your first C. Then you want...
And that's good too, brother. Not just for cutting, but hacking. Like if you got to hack limbs off a tree or whatever. it comes
Sure.
in that way as well, or for fixing dinner that you need to cut meat with or whatever the situation. It's versatile that way. So really, that's one of your most important items to have on hand is a cutting tool
Absolutely.
of some sort. Yeah.
A cutting tool. And then you have something for combustion. Now, what is combustion? Combustion would be, I always have multiple ways to do it, and I always waterproof my items in Ziploc bags, things of that nature. So what I have here assembled, I have fire starters. I have magnesium matches. Then I have a waterproof set of magnesium matches. I have polystyrene, petroleum jelly as a fire extender. You never want to be pigeonholed with only one way to start a fire. You want to have multiple options and multiple chances to make that happen. Because there are 4 things that you must have in survival. You must have water, shelter, fire, food, and if I would throw a 5th one in there, a means of force protection. Because if you have these 4, eventually somebody's going to come along that wants to take one of those 4 from you. So, combustion. Then you would want cordage, some form of bindings, rope, etc. Okay, Dennis has got cordage right there in front of him. Okay, so an excellent thing for cordage would be 550 cord. Now, why do you say call it 550 cord? Because if you break a piece of 550 cord down, there's 7 50-pound strength monofilaments.
That's a nice little stove thing here that you might want to invest in one of these. You can put your canned heat under it. You can cook on it, boil water on it, and it's foldable. Get you one of these. They're cheap. They're inexpensive, but very, very good to have.
Right. So you have cordage, cutting, combustion. Then you have calories. Now, as Dennis said, the average, you can go up to about 39 days, 40 days without any food consumption, but you'll get weaker and weaker as that happens. And if you know anything about survival, it is a lot of energy output. So you're going to have to put things back. Now, carrying a bunch of canned goods and things of that stuff is not very conducive for being mobile. So what I would recommend is to get a big jug of protein powder, bust it down into Ziploc bags, and put it in your go bag. Put it in your bug out bag, your go bag. Because then all you have to do is add water, and it gives you about 28 grams of protein per shake, per scoop, and that will keep you alive. Now, typically, most survival scenarios in general are lost in the wilderness for about 72 hours. You're either going to affect self-rescue or be rescued by a search party within 72 hours of you being lost in the wilderness. That's a whole different area of survival. You want to be seen. You want to make yourself seen and as loud as you can. But the kind of survival we're getting at is if you're mobile, you want to be concealed. That's your next C. Concealed. Because as we said, everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart. So now you have concealed. Now you would need something very simple. Compass. A way to navigate. A way to, and be familiar, start learning how to use, at least in the, you don't have to know how to use it on a map and things like that. All that's great to know, but the generalization on how to use a compass. Put it close to your chest, away from any metal objects or stone, and the red arrows pointing north. And that will give you the cardinal directions. If you find yourself high elevation and you want to be rescued, descend. If you want to hide, ascend. You want to have the high ground in these type scenarios. Now, I know I'm personally throwing a lot of information out at you, but these are all things that you need to start thinking about. Because guess what? Tick-tock goes the freedom clock right now as we're speaking. These things you need to familiarize yourself.
Consider the fact you can make your own compass if you need to. All you need is a needle, cup of water, and a leaf or something you can stick the needle. But you got to magnetize the needle for a couple hours before you use it. Let it float in the water. It will give you true north.
Yes.
That way. That's another, just in case you don't have one, you can do that. But it's got to be a steel needle. It's got to be not plastic.
Now, this is my day pack. It's a very small, over the shoulder pack. Mm-hmm. I keep it in my vehicle. My wife keeps one. I keep one in all of our vehicles. And we have have these items there. In case you never know, you need to have a plan if you're going to meet up with somebody.
I got one in my truck. It's a good idea to always have one, just in case you're not at home when something happens. You will have that on hand. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I carry it when I go hiking, when I go fishing, when I go anywhere, because you never know when when the fecal matter is going to hit the rotating oscillator. You understand what I mean?
I want to show this item right quick before we go on. This is a very essential survival tool here. Sure. Everyone needs one of these in your glove compartment. You need one. Yeah, everybody needs an emergency blanket. This could save your life, without a doubt. And you can make a tent out of it if you had to. You could make a shelter with it. There's many different things you can do with it. So it's very inexpensive. They're not expensive at all.
That's right. Now here's another good one. We mentioned water. You're going to die if you don't drink water in 72 hours. You will die. You must have it. Now you need to, if you don't have running water, like you can't go to the pump and get it. You might have to drink water from a less pleasurable source. So you might want to consider one of these. This is a life straw. Okay. It comes with a plastic sheath or a pouch like this, where you can fill this up, screw this on, and drink from it. I used to do demonstrations.
Very simple to use. It's not hard at all.
I have done demonstrations in my survival classes where I would drink out of a puddle in the ground or out of a toilet.
You put your dirty water in this. You put your dirty water in the bag. Okay. You screw this little pump on the end of it. Have a glass ready. All you do is pump it from this bag in through this, and you've got a glass of clean water. That simple.
And these will filter about 2,000 gallons, depending on the make and model that you have. There's also a trick. This little thing is called potassium permanganate. This kills all known bacteria such as Giardia, things of that nature that is in the water, salmonella. And all it is a little dust. You put 2 or 3 granulates, and it doesn't take much, into a gallon of water, and it actually purifies the water. It'll turn it a reddish hue, but it's safe to drink. It kills all known pathogens and bacteria. Those are very important to have, and it's something this small. If I told you right now, and I know you're thinking, oh man, it's a lot of stuff I need to get. You can put this bag together. Maybe not the highest quality items, but you can put it together for less than $100 for a peace of mind. $100 insurance policy. Now, in my bag, I also carry 60 rounds of ammunition for those pesky zombies, And I'm never without my blinky, if you know what I mean, or one of them. And I'm never without a smaller edged weapon that you can do detailed oriented stuff with, food prep, things of that nature. Or you might need to use this in a hand-to-hand type scenario. So these are all things that you need to use. Dennis has got a lot of things he would like to show you too. I know I'm rambling, Dennis. Go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to bogart the program for a second. I got a lot more stuff, but you go ahead and show them.
Thank you for that $10 sticker there, Russell. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a must-have for self-defense too. Because if somebody is very close quarters with you, even pulling the gun on you, a knife can make a difference because it can get that person off of you, or momentarily enough for you to do something, what you need to do. And so it's always good to always carry I don't care what's the situation. Carry a pocket knife with you where you're allowed to do so. You know.
I also have a lot of other items. So one thing, of course, LED flashlight or headlamp and spare batteries.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, if you've got some tin foil and a paper clip, you can take that battery and start a fire with it. If you know how to do that, you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gloves, travel binoculars are good. First aid kit. Cannot put stress how important that is. And not just your generic garden variety. If you or your family have life-sustaining medicines, make sure you keep an ample supply. I actually order my own antibiotics online in case of infections because you're not going to the doctor, folks, when something happens. You're going to have to deal with injuries and things of that nature as they happen. And they will happen. They will, even in training scenarios. I've been shot through the hand in training, stabbed, all beaten, hit with, all kinds of injuries can happen, even on your very best good day. So you have to be prepared for those type of things. First aid.
By the way, I want to show everybody, since we're getting into the first aid thing and all that, this is a nice little handy device to have. These are EMT scissors that you fold up and fold out. And they are not just for cutting bandages. You can cut wire with it. You can cut rope. You can you could cut a penny into these things. They're very, very good to have. And I like the concept of these things folding up, because you can put them in your pocket just like you would a pocket knife.
Absolutely.
And that's very handy. But look how easy that folds up together and sticks in your purse or whatever. It's very important that you have scissors, just like he's saying, in case there's some type of a situation for medical purposes or whatever the situation. You need to cut real quick with scissors. That's the one to carry. Don't waste your money on cheap scissors. These things will do it.
That's right. Comfort items is another C. Things that make life not just surviving, but thriving. Anything to make you have, excuse me, peace of mind. Stocking cap, changing socks. You can deal with the clothes that you got on.
That's something we can talk about tonight, too, when you think about it. If you have to bug in, in other words, bug in means you're not leaving the premises, means you're hunkering down, you're fortifying where you're at against whatever's going on. You may have to do that because if you don't have a mountain in the cabin in the mountains you can go to, or a safe place, you're going to have to stay where you're at. That's the best advice. Don't try to leave, because the world you're walking into is the world you don't really recognize anymore. Okay.
Right.
So it just depends. If you're out somewhere in your truck or car and things go like that, then you will have to definitely bug out, But if you got another choice, it may be safer for you to bug in, barricade yourself in your house, but around you, your common everything, things like David's talking about here. These are stuff that you can use to help you in this situation. And like Russell just said, the Mormons talk about this. Always have at least three months of food on hand and water. I've got right now, I have 3 5-gallon jugs of water here and 2 flats of 16-ounce water. You got to keep enough water for at least 3 or 4 months on hand. And that's talking about just, rationing your water. You still got to have that much. And you got to ration it. You can't just, put it this way. When the world goes, hits the fan, don't worry about taking a shower. Don't worry about, keep your hands clean. That's good. Keep yourself as clean as possible, but don't worry about that, because normal life is gone.
Yes.
You've got to understand that the concept of what David and I are talking about tonight. You got to start thinking way outside of the box. if you want to survive. And the number one rule of survival, you've heard me say this before, but it's worth always repeating. The number one rule, do whatever it takes.
That's right.
That's the way you got to look at it. I know that sounds hard and that sounds mean and evil, but that's what it takes to survive. That's what it takes. The animals in the forest know this. They do whatever it takes to get that next meal. They have to run an animal down to kill it and eat it. That's what you got to do. If you got to survive on rat on a stick, that's what you got to do.
That's right. You got to remember the 4 B's. Write these down. Bible, bullets, beans, Band-Aids. Those 4 categories right there. You're going to have your spiritual life in order too, folks, because I'm going to be upfront with you. As the young folks say, I'm going to keep it up with you, right? You might have to do things that are unpleasant to survive.
Without a doubt, David, I think we need to stress this tonight, definitely. When this goes down the line, we know it's going to do sooner or later here, okay? When it goes down the line, you're going to be living in a whole different world. We are right now creatures of comfort and convenience. Right. You know, that's what we are. We're going to have to quit. We're going to have to unlearn that. We're going to have to unlearn that philosophy and do whatever it takes to survive, because that's what you got to do. And like I said, I know you don't want to think about eating rats and bugs. I mean, in some places, grasshoppers are the next best thing to ice cream, folks. But that gives you protein in your body. It gives you the chance to live a few hours longer. That's what you got to think about. You know?
You need to constantly thinking about improving your position. Constantly think about improving your position. And it starts right now. It's for those of you who have not been doing it, it starts right now. Start improving your spiritual position, your physical position. I mean, if you sitting around, you look like a busted can of biscuits and you can't get off the couch and walk 6 feet, what are you going to do when Joe Raghead or somebody or Pookie from down the street tries to kick your door in and come take advantage of your family and take the resources that you need to survive? What you going to do?
Yep. And that's what most people are going to be out doing, David. Most people are going to be doing that. I'm going to take what you got. I've seen that happen in a parking lot not long ago because the food stamps went down for a week or so.
Yes,
I think they steal somebody else's groceries and throw them in the back of the car and drive off with them, saying because you don't live on food stamps and I do, so I'm going to take your food. This is just the attitude you're going to be facing, folks. They're going to take what they want, even if it means cutting your throat. You got to think about that. You got to realize that. That's what you're facing.
Yeah, you said it at the beginning of the program, brother. The Bible even says it. The heart of man is desperately wicked, and who can know it? We are just one bad disaster away from tribalism. And that's another thing. One of the C's you need, community. You need to have a group, a circle of people around you that can be depended upon for survival, like the old tribes and villages of old. And I'm not talking about people who can't pull their own weight. Dead weight gets cut and thrown into the ocean. I'm just, when this type of scenario happens, if you can't do it, everybody's got to bring something to the table to help better your position. Make friends in your community with doctors and nurses, with people who have had military security training, people who have knowledge of edible plants and things of that nature. All these things, all these people, they have combined resources too, to where you be able to sustain yourself. Now, I live real rural. When this kind of thing happens, the rural communities will be the last affected. You will first start to see these things, and some of you live in major cities. I'm telling you that when this scenario happens, you've got 24 to 48 hours in a major city to either get gone or get fortified, because people are coming. They coming for you. So make sure that you have a means to protect yourself, provide for yourself. Excuse me. It's coming.
If you don't have something like this along these lines, and remember, this doesn't need ammo and don't need bullets, okay? It's
That's
dependable
right.
for a lot of things. But you got to have something ready for what's going to come, okay? And we're talking weapons of any kind here that you got. That's what it's going to take. You're going to have to get in mind. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to use force because they're going to use force against you to take
That's
what
right.
you have. And you got to be ready for that. You got to understand that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be a maybe it will, maybe. You need to understand it will happen.
Oh, yes.
There's no maybe about it.
And eventually, oh, yeah, for sure. And know how to use these things. It's not, see, this is what you got to remember too. Having this stuff and having these things doesn't do you a damn bit of good if you don't know how to implement them. If you don't know how to bring them, as we called it in the military, bring these things to operational capacity, bring them into service, if you will. Know how these things function. You could have all the guns in the world, all the ammo in the world, but if you've never loaded one and don't know how to use them appropriately, or how to use an edge weapon, how to start a fire, you're still out back, even if you have the raw materials to do so. You have to be like Noah was. Make hay when the sun's shining. He built the ark in the good days. Now we still have a few left. And I know you say, well, it's too late for me to start. It's never too late to start.
Everybody out there that's got children, grandchildren, let me tell you this, and this is something you need to think about. You need to get together one day with your children and grandchildren and say, look, I'm going to give you all a code word. Okay? I'm going to give you all a code word. And when I send that code out to you, we meet at a certain place. You meet here back at Nana's house or whatever, wherever you set up. You need to start thinking about this, folks, for you and your children. So you can send out that code word that no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, if you get that code word, you stop whatever it is and you get immediately to this location. No matter what. You need to do this for your family, okay? Because you will survive better as a family in some instances than you will alone, okay? And if you know what you're really doing and you're trained for this and you're up on a lot of this stuff, just like what me and David are telling you tonight, if you understand what's going on, what it's going to take, get together with your family, not just you, your family, and talk these things over. Have a plan. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a plan, you're going to be up the creek without a paddle. And people are going to die and you will never see them again. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So you need to get together with your family, your immediate family. I know you can't do this with all your cousins and nephews, but your immediate family, your children and your grandchildren, you need to get together and say, we got a code word. When whoever it is sends out that code word, we will meet at a certain place right immediately.
Right. And you have to set time parameters on it, things of that nature, because the harsh truth is you can't wait for everybody. And you're not going to be able to save everybody. You better get that through your head now. There's casualties in these things. And you just have to be in a position to limit those from happening. But they're going to happen. You might as well set your mouth for it right now. Casualties are going to happen on all sides. Dennis mentioned we're at the brink of civil war. I agree that. I agree. And I personally am of the opinion that we will never correct the problems in our nation without one. I don't think so. I think we're past. We're past.
No.
Yeah, we're
not going to be able to. This is a God problem in the end. We got to remember that, folks. God's the only one that's going to straighten this stuff out, not us. Yeah, but we got to try to survive the storm that's coming. You know, it's just like, there's a big storm coming down the line. It's coming, and it's coming in within a few hours. You got to be ready. You got to have a plan. Like David says, a lot of us may never make it through that storm, but we do what we can. We do what we're able to do, and that's all we can do. We do our best. But planning will give you an advantage. Planning will always give you an advantage that you really need.
It gives you a tactical advantage. That's why it's important to be spiritually prepared, because everybody talks about the end of the world, but your world can end tomorrow. Anything can happen at any time. So you better be ready to step on over into glory, or you'll be stepping over into hell, one of the two. You ain't going but one or two places. Make sure that place is right. Make sure you're right in the sight of God.
That's absolutely true, brother. Mankind, we cannot depend upon mankind to solve the problems. They're not going to. They're imperfect. They're not righteous enough. Only God is righteous enough to take care of this mess that we have created. To that certain extent, no government, no president is going to clean this up. And when America goes down, who's coming to help us? Huh? Nobody. Who's going to come to help us? Nobody. You got to remember that. Nobody's coming to help us. They're going to have their own problems. They're not going to worry about us. Just like your next door neighbors. They're going to feel the same way. You got to remember that.
The rest of the world. When we go down, we've been propping up governments all over the world for years. And the politicians getting stinking rich off of your dime, off of your back. Be they Democrats or Republicans, I see no difference between them. They're all a bunch of crooks, every single one of them. They're all enriching themselves. There's one thing that they've never voted against. That's a raise for themselves. They're a bunch of liars, crooks, and thieves, all of them. It's them and you and us. That's it. It's us against them. It's what it is, folks. I can't put it to you a nice way. Nobody's coming to save you, but your brother and sister in the Lord and folks of like mind like us. We have to depend on one another, which is one of the greatest tools of survival. We said that one of the C's, community. Developing these communities. Am I preaching good tonight, Dennis? I'm trying to.
That's very true, brother. Just like you said earlier about tactical advantage. If we are united, a house united will stand.
Sure.
But a house divided will always fall. That's just the way that goes, okay? And if we are united, if we stay together and don't let these things divide us up, the enemy knows this. That's why they hate that. They sow division and discord for a reason. To keep us divided. To keep us from being united, because united, they know we have a greater advantage over them. That's just the way that goes. And as long as we stay united and try to cooperate with each other, we will have, as the old cowboy saying goes, a leg up in the saddle. We will be doing what we need to do here. But the enemy doesn't want that. They want to divide us not just only by race and religion, but in creed and nationality. They want to divide us because it is a control method. That's what they do. Yeah. So we don't need to fall prey to that. We need to be smarter than that. And the time is coming now, my friends, when we need to be real smart. As Jesus said in the Bible, I send you out. Be wise as serpents, be gentle as doves, but you got to be smart. That's what you got to do. And you got to try to stay one step ahead of what's happening. The more steps ahead you are, there again is the better advantage, because you're on top of the game. You're not a victim to the game. You're on top of the game. And that's where you want to be. Even when it hits the fan and the world goes down, you can still survive if you're smart. That's the number one weapon mankind has. It's not our hands. It's not our legs. It's not our teeth. We don't go around ripping throats out like certain animals. It's our brain. That's what divides us from the animals, okay? And we got to use it. We got to utilize it. God gave you 2 brain cells to rub together. Use them.
Yes, sir.
That's what you got to do to survive.
Well, that's one of the things that separates us from the animal kingdom, is our ability to process thought and have logic and reason and be able to plan. We're the only creature God ever created on this earth that has the ability to somewhat look into the future and forecast events. We have the ability to plan ahead and to make preparation and to lay up in storehouses. I mean, we see this principle all throughout the Bible with Joshua, with Jacob. All these people laid up provisions for bad times. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's the ant, the ant and the grasshopper. Remember the ant and the grasshopper,
Yes.
The ant, he put up stuff for winter. The grasshopper, he played around. Guess who made it through the winter? It wasn't the grasshopper.
That's right.
It was the ant. He was smart. By the way, I was going to mention to everybody, that's a Sawyer Mini water purifier. You can get these on Amazon dirt cheap, folks. They're only about $10. And this thing will do 100,000 gallons of water.
Yes.
So get you that. You got to have water, okay? And you got to make sure you got water that won't kill you, okay? And that's the way that goes. But, all these things we showed you tonight, and there's a whole lot more we could show you. Believe me, we haven't even scratched the surface on this, But, all of this is going to be for nothing if you don't use your mind, if you don't use your brain to stay ahead of it. Take this little device here, David. See what this is? This is actually a, let me turn it on. This is actually a light source. Let me turn it on here. It's actually a nice little light, but it's also a little mini pump. You can pump up stuff with it.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
And also, on this side, it's a little power bank. You can, charge your phone up with this thing. You can get stuff like this on Amazon cheap, folks. But believe me, this kind of stuff comes in handy for anything like that. You know what I'm saying? You need light. You may need something to somehow or another to pump up a mattress or whatever. These things you can get dirt cheap. Go on Amazon. Go on eBay and look for this stuff, okay? And if you want to start buying some of this stuff up, you don't have to be a millionaire, to get this stuff. But you need to do it. It's very important. And you need to start taking notes. You start making a plan, just like I said about your children, your grandchildren. You got to have a plan. God wants you to plan for things. God tells us in the Bible, to plan for things. He warns us and tells us about things that we should, be ready for certain situations. This is nothing against, your religious belief. This is everything about it in many ways, You got to understand that. By the way, I got another little item I was just going to share with everybody right quick. And it ain't that real important and about survival, but it's good to have. This is a camp spoon and fork. It's all the same thing in one little thing here.
Oh, yeah.
And even on this side of the fork is a knife. So you don't have to go around looking for your cutlery. There it is, all together in one thing. You can put it in your bag or whatever, and there it is. But this is little stuff like this. You can find this stuff on Amazon and all that. Start thinking about it. And like David said, think outside of the box. You got to start thinking outside of the box. Absolutely. But, we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't know exactly what's going to happen until we start living it, okay? And we don't, and I'm not one to sit around trying to predict it's going to be tomorrow, next week, and all that. That's not our job either. Jesus said that in the Bible very plainly. Even the angels in heaven don't know the day or the hour. That's not the important thing. We know it's coming. Just like Jesus said, it's coming like a thief in the night.
Right.
Be ready for it. And he said if the man knew the thief was coming, he would have been ready for him. He would have kept his stuff from being stolen. So that's what Jesus is telling you. If you're ready for it, it's going to be a lot better outcome than when you're not. And that's the way we got to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, we could take this topic down all kinds of different rabbit trails. We're just trying to wet y'all's whistle tonight. I mean, it's way too much information to digest in one sitting. It's like a big meal, but we've given you enough to get the idea involved to start bettering your position daily. Your physical position, your spiritual position, your mental position. Start thinking about these things because it's coming, folks. It's been on my spirit. It's been on Dennis's spirit. Every Christian that I know, even the non-Christian, can feel in the atmosphere that there's something not right, and there's going to be a major event coming. There's going to be. I mean, whether it be for your house or somebody else's that you know, these are all principles that you should live by because it can do nothing but help you. It does not hurt you.
That's very true, sir. That is very true. We got to be prepared too. And Jesus said this also, and we got to think about these things too. I know it's not something you want to sit around and think about, but Jesus said something very important. He said, you lose your life and you will gain it.
Right.
What he's talking about is gaining spiritual life, my friends. Okay, because your physical life is just for a while. Okay, if you live to be 120 years old, it's like that question. So, what if you live to be 120 years old? Well, you live to be 120 years old. That's still not immortality. That's not forever. That's not eternity. That's just a few years in the march of time. Okay, that's nothing. But we've got to remember there's something beyond that. And times are going to require some very special understanding of these things, okay? Because, like we've talked about with the Antichrist and all these other things, it says there's one very important scripture about the Antichrist that I'm going to be talking about in a podcast very soon. He shall make war on the saints, and he shall overcome them.
Yep.
And that means we're going to lose our lives, folks. If we believe in God and Christ, and we are true Christians, we're going to die for what we believe in. That's pure and simple. However it may be, whether we cut our head off or whatever the situation, I'm going to tell you, there is no death that is not painless. It's not going to be good, whichever way you look at it. But we are going to lose our lives with this fella. That's just the way it goes, because the blood of the saints will go straight to the altar of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're going to go. We're going to go straight to the altar of God. In other words, God's going to make us holy for our sacrifice that we have done. Just like he died for us, we die for him. And that is an acronym that's been used in Christianity for centuries. We die in the Lord every day. The old man dies, the old woman dies, and the new one lives in Christ.
Amen.
But the time will come when we will fulfill that physically. And those times will require that. I know that's something we don't want to think about, but it's something we truly need to confront and know that is what is probably coming down the line. Okay? But now a lot of us may not be here for that. And some of us may be gone in the rapture. Okay? I'd rather go that way. Thank you. Okay? But some of us will not go that way. Some of us will actually have to die for what we believe. We'll have to die for God just as God died for us.
Yeah.
Some of us are going to be required to do that. So that is the destiny that we face. We must understand that and never forget that is the true destiny that we face in this world. Whenever it comes, whatever situation comes down the line, that's what we got to think about, So you need to be thinking about these spiritual things and thinking about what am I going to do? What decision am I going to make? What and when you've done all to do like what we've talked about tonight, to survive and doing that. And God wants you to do that. God wants you to be blessed above all. He wants you to live and have a life. He wants that. Or he never would have created you to begin with. It's very important that you know that. But God wants us to survive, definitely. But there may be a point where we do all we've done and that's it. We got to understand that too. So we need to keep these things. We need to open our minds up to these things. And we need to remember, too, and I was telling somebody this the other day, David, and I know you know this very well. Now is the time for discernment and discretion against the deceptions going on in this world. They are running psyops against us, just like, the seditious sick is running a CIA psyops on the military. I mean, they are running psyops every day here, and they are trying to indoctrinate you. They are trying to take your mind, and we've got to keep praying and asking our Father, to give us not the spirit of fear. And that's what David and I are trying to do now. We're not trying to scare you. No. Okay? None of this is designed to scare you. For we do not seek a spirit of fear. We're not given a spirit of fear, but of love and power.
And a sound mind.
Sound mind. That's what we need to keep our minds sound. Keep our minds sound, because we need them for what's coming. This is the other part of survival, the spiritual part of survival that you need to think about too.
The most important part.
Yeah, it's more important than the physical part. It's really more important than the physical
in this world. But there's a second death that you want to avoid. Well, I think we hit him over good tonight, Dennis, with some good information.
You don't want anything to do with the second death, my friends. No. You don't want anything to do with that. But, I was, David, I don't know if I ever told you, there is a nightclub in New Orleans. It's a vampire nightclub. You can order a drink there called the Second Death.
Yep.
I don't think I'd want to drink that, definitely not. But, yeah, that's what the second death is. Definitely, you don't want to deal with anything having to do with that. But whether it's a drink or not. But what we're talking about here tonight is survival beyond the physical world.
Sure.
That's very important, because that's forever. That's not just a few years. The Bible says your body, your life is but a vapor of smoke. Yeah. And you got to look beyond that, my dear friends, and understand that there is a part of you that will go on forever somewhere, wherever that may be. And we hope it's a good place. You want it to be with your Creator and not the other way around. Right. You want it to be that way, but you got to understand that that's the most important part that you're facing. Be ready, not just physically like we're talking about here tonight. Be ready spiritually. And you do that as a true Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, now is the time. Now is the time to understand, not tomorrow, not next week, but right here and now. Now is the time for you to begin to believe. And you say, God, my trust is not in man and the things of mankind, but in you. That's where your faith, your true faith, needs to go. To the one who holds that faith and never, ever drops it. He's never going to drop you. He's never going to let you go. As long as you believe. And David, we've talked about that before. That one day, and I'm going to talk about this very soon in another part, that dusty day on Golgotha, when 3 men hung on a cross, 2 of them went to glory, and the other one did not. Yep. You want to be like those 2 men on the cross. One of them was the Son of God. He was definitely going to glory. He was going back where he come from. But he took another man with him. And that man he didn't belong to any organization. He didn't sign his name on any card. He wasn't registered anyway. He just simply believed. That's all it took. And that day he was with his master in paradise. And that's what we want to. We don't ever want to lose sight of that tonight. No matter what the survival situation may be, no matter what comes down the line, God holds the future in his hands. And thank God he does, because I wouldn't trust anybody else with it. How about you, David?
I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow.
Yep, there you go. Well, this has been good. We just, like I said, though, we may have to do some more shows in the future on some of this stuff and get a little bit deeper into something. And but this has been good. I hope we've, I hope you all have took some notes on this, and it's kind of opened your mind up to think about some things that you need to do, and be prepared and be ready. Because we don't know exactly. We've got some hints and some clues, but we don't know exactly how things are going to be until we live it. That's just the way it goes. It's just like you don't know how to ride a bicycle until you get in the seat and start pedaling. That's the way it goes, and that's the way the future is. But we got to be ready. We need to be ready, and the more ready we are, like David said, that's the more tactical advantage we have of whatever that situation may be. So we need to think about that. I hope you all took notes, and we are available, David and I.
Sure.
To answer any of your questions at any time on anything, including this. Okay. So, David, you want to tell everybody how to reach you?
Sure. You can email me at dlroach163@gmail. Of course, you can reach out to me through Dennis's channel, or you can reach out through us to the comment section on the Supernatural Truth Project. Myself or D, always available to talk to anybody they need. Those who know us well know that for a fact. So don't hesitate to email me. I've talked to some of you on the phone. We'll do what we can for you. Always available for prayer. Anybody who wants one of our blessed coins, I still have some already ready to go out in prepaid envelopes. Email Dennis or myself or D, and we'll get one out to you for Christmas if you like. And for those I saw in the chat asking me what my shirt says, it says, now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. It's from Die Hard, everybody. It's a Christmas movie.
I'm wearing the Death Bat tonight. That's Batman's shirt. He'll probably show up later tonight, won't he, back? Anyway, that's good. And you can, of course, you know where you can reach me at. That's DennisWCarroll.com. That's my website. You can reach me through that, or you can email me at DennisWCarroll@gmail.com. And you can reach me through the show as well as David. And anytime, like I say, we're here. We're available for you. Whatever question, not just about survival, anything, or you want to tell us a story. I get people telling me and sending me photographs. I love that. I love them to share their stories with me. I've always enjoyed that. And, but we're here, definitely. And if you have not subscribed to Hunting the Shadows, please do so. Go out of it's free, yes, and you will be up on all our future shows that we have. You will be notified and all that. And get your friends. Get your friends out there and your family. Start recommending this show to them. Say, hey, we're closing in on 2000, folks. We're sitting at 1964. So we're getting very close here, okay? So we want to try to make it by the end of the year, hopefully. But anyway, get some of your friends, start recommending they listen to the program. And we're on twice a week, Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Friday nights like tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please recommend us to them, and keep listening. We've got some more interesting shows and stuff ahead. But appreciate you all and appreciate your donations tonight. They really help us out a lot, and because we do have some overhead costs. Of course, it ain't nothing in this world free, right, David? Ain't nothing. Ain't no such a thing. But except hard time, trouble's free. No,
yeah.
That's the way that goes.
Everybody.
Yeah, oh yeah. But anyway, we appreciate all that you do, and I appreciate you all, my dear friends, for your support. And all that you do out there. Trust me, it means more to me than words can say. It really does. And I appreciate you all so very, very much. And I love you all, you know that. And I'm here for you. That's just like David's here for you. We're here for you no matter what the situation. Please reach out to us if you need to, okay? And don't forget that you are never alone. Never alone.
Right.
We're in your corner. Don't forget that. And but I appreciate you all being here tonight and for listening in. And I will probably see you on some podcasts coming up. And if not, back again Wednesday night. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be careful out there, because the world is changing drastically day by day. And it's just, we are strangers, just as the Bible says. We are strangers in a strange land now, my friends. And we got to be very careful. So keep that head on swivel and the eyes on your sick at all times. Keep an eye on that six. And be careful. And like I tell people, it's not really now. It's not a good time to hang around large crowds, okay? If you can help it. I know you got to do shopping, but if you can help it, stay out of them as much as possible, okay? But we don't know what weird stuff's coming down the line. But don't look like it's going to be good, that's for sure. But anyway, thank you so much for being here tonight. Take care of yourselves. Godspeed, my dear friends. And may God bless you all. And remember, hold on to the light, hold the line, and faith over fear. Don't forget that. It's very important, faith over fear. And until we get back together again, I will see you out there somewhere in the shadows.